Hi guys, so in this video we're going to be talking consultation specifically for cutting, coiled and curly hair textures. So I have my notes here with me to make sure that I don't miss anything. I'm going to be sharing with you guys the key questions that you want to be asking for your consultation to be more effective. We're also going to be working out exactly the outcome that we want at the end of this consultation and what is the thing that's most important to help you to achieve the result that you want when you're carrying out your cutting service. It might be a short haircut, it might be even trimming to tidy up someone's hair. But these are just questions that will help you to establish whether you want to change the style that the client wants because it doesn't suit the hair texture or it doesn't necessarily work for their regular day-to-day life. So these are some of the things that we'll be addressing. And what I have here, I just have it in a list format. And then what I'll do is read out the key questions that you want to ask, and then we'll just briefly go over those questions to explain why you would want to be asking those questions. All right, so the main purpose of your consultation is going to be to establish and work out exactly the style that the client wants or the model wants, or I probably shouldn't say model wants, because if the model is working with you, you already know the brief and you know the style that you want to create. But for those of you who are based in salons, you will be establishing exactly what the client wants, what's the desired style. We're also going to be assessing the health of the hair. You need to work out, is that hair healthy enough for you to create the style that your client wants to have done, or the one that you want to create for the actor or for the model that you're working with, and whether it's going to achieve the desired result that you want. So an example of that would be if you're doing a silk press styling and you wanted to have a lot of movement in the hair, but the hair had a lot of split ends, this is likely going to affect the result, and also it's going to affect whether the finish is going to be smooth. So if you get rid of those ends by cutting the hair, it's going to maximize the result of the style that you've created. So this is the reason why you need to check the health of the hair. And you're also going to be using visual aids during this consultation. You'll be looking at images to help guide your client and also better understand exactly what they're looking for and whether it's possible to achieve the style based on the person's hair as well, okay? So those key questions that I would recommend you would be asking the person would be, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the exact order that I'm going to list out these questions. So this is just to give you a list of those questions, and then you can work out which one you'd go with first. So on my list here, I have asking them, when was the last time your hair was cut? So you want to establish when the last time the hair was cut, so you can work out if you need to go a little bit more into the cut, or you're just doing more of a tidy up and maintaining what they already have, okay? You want to ask how much length are they willing to lose. It's always very important to make sure you both know, yourself and your client understand how much of the length is going to be taken out of the hair. Or you could even ask, how much length would you like to keep? Because sometimes someone will have an idea of like, okay, I want to lose about 2 inches. But then when you show them what that looks like, and then you ask them, how much are you willing to keep? It might end up being slightly shorter than what they initially thought was. So it's always important to double check those things. I would be asking, are you planning to maintain the style, or are you looking to grow out the haircut after the hair's been cut instead of maintaining this look? Say for example, someone has a short pixie cut done. They might be looking to maintain this style for, I don't know, the next 6 months to like a year or 2 years, or whatever the case might be. And sometimes someone might just do a short haircut just for that time. But once the hair starts to grow back, they're going to just leave it to grow out longer. They're not going to necessarily maintain that. The reason why you'd be asking these questions is to work out what's the routine they need to maintain, because you need to establish a time frame for when they need to come back to get that cut again, okay? Or whenever you're going to go in and do the touch-up based on how fast the hair grows and how short you went in with the cut to begin with. And I think this is also one of those things that you have to make sure and ask the person, are they ready for the possible change in their day-to-day routine because of the cut they just had? Especially if you're going shorter, it's going to change how someone maintains and keeps their hair. Or maybe if you create layers in their hair that they didn't have before, and they were used to creating maybe a single twist and then twist out styling, for example. This can also slightly change the way they do that technique, because maybe some of the areas the hair is slightly shorter. So now it might take a little bit more time, it might be a little bit more fiddly. So there's all those aspects that you have to consider when you're cutting someone's hair, in terms of like, once they leave your chair and they have to maintain this style, are they able to maintain this style in a way that allows them to do exactly the same styling that they used to? Or is there any changes that are going to take place where you need to either educate them or share a little bit more information to help them really look after the cut that you've created for them, okay? So it's just important to make sure that, you know, they're able to maintain this style when they leave your chair. And you also want to find out, do they currently have a regular hair care routine? Now, if you're cutting someone's hair who doesn't have a routine where they're used to like really doing a lot of stuff with their hair, and you transition their hair from like a long hair style to a shorter hair, and I find this tends to apply more if you're working with someone with relaxed hair and it's been cut shorter, it's going to require a lot of things like making sure you shampoo the hair, and then when you shampoo the hair, instead of blow drying the hair, you have to wrap the hair down, and then you might have to tongue the hair like every day or every other day to maintain the style and the shape, especially if it's for the pixie cut. And then you might have someone with long hair, and then you've created layers in the hair as well. So all those things might slightly change their routine in terms of like how they maintain that. So if someone already has a routine, it's a little bit more easier to transition into a whole new look. But if they don't currently have one, you might have to consider that, okay, instead of us going extremely short, why don't we gradually get the length a little bit shorter, so you get used to that, and then we can work on routine. And then once you're comfortable with the routine, we can then maybe consider going a little bit more shorter, because you always want to make sure that whatever cut you're doing, the person is able to actually maintain the style after, okay? You don't want to just create this amazing style, and then once they leave you, they have no idea what they're doing with the hair. So you just want to make sure that the person is going to be prepared for that, okay? And another thing to note possibly is whenever you're doing your cutting, or you're going to create a cut for the hair, you also need to take into account the type of hair texture you're working with. You need to consider, so earlier on I talked about the health of the hair. You need to understand the texture of the hair that you're working with as well, because if you're doing your cutting for curly hair textures, you have to consider, are you going to be cutting this hair wet or dry? So this is the point in the consultation where you've asked those questions, you know, to understand your client better. Now you yourself as a stylist, you need to consider the condition of the hair, the type of hair you're working with, so that you can make the best choice of technique and method to create the cut that you've agreed with your client, with your model, with your person whose hair you're going to be styling. So you need to understand how to work with curly hair textures, the effect of curly hair when it's dry and curly hair when it's wet. So you can work out, are you going to do your cut on dry hair, or is it going to be on wet hair? Do you need to blow dry the hair first before you actually do your cut? If you're working with kinky coiled hair textures, if the hair is long, I would recommend blow drying the hair first, so that you can actually visually see exactly what needs to be taken off. Especially if you're doing something like trimming to get rid of really, really bad split ends, you want to make sure that you blow dry the hair so you can really visually see how much needs to be taken off, okay? And then if you're working with curly hair textures, you need to consider, does that person keep the hair curly all the time? Would it be better for me to cut the hair wet, or would it be better to cut the curls dry? Keep in mind that when the hair is wet, it's going to stretch slightly longer than what it looks like. When it's dry, it's going to shrink back. So you don't want to make the mistake of cutting off too much. So this is the point where you establish those things during your consultation. Once you know how much length the person wants to lose, or how much of the cut you're going to be doing on the hair, whether you're graduating the hair into like a short graduation, or you're creating long layers in the hair, or you're creating a style that frames the face, all of those things you have to always consider the type of texture you're working with, the desired result that we want to see at the end of the styling, and also how it's going to be maintained after. So these are some of the key things to consider when you're carrying out your consultation for your haircuts, for your coiled hair textures, and for your curly hair textures, whether the hair is long or whether the hair is short. Keep in mind, just make sure you do that consultation to help you make the right decision and make the right choice for your client, and also for yourself to achieve the best result.